The most selfish thing you can do is to neglect your own development, yet most people proudly wear self-neglect as a badge of honor, calling it selflessness, humility, or putting others first. It's a comforting lie that keeps you mediocre. Society celebrates those who sacrifice themselves completely, burning out while helping everyone but themselves, then wonders why so many good-hearted people end up broke, exhausted, and ineffective. True impact doesn't come from martyrdom. It comes from becoming extraordinarily capable through relentless self-focus. Mother Teresa, Gandhi, and Martin Luther King Jr. didn't change the world by accident. They spent countless hours in self-development, strengthening their minds, honing their communication, and mastering their emotions. They understood what most never grasps, that focusing on yourself isn't narcissism. It's the fundamental responsibility of anyone who truly wants to contribute to others. The most valuable real estate in the world isn't in Manhattan or Monaco or Beverly Hills. The most valuable real estate is right between your ears, what you do with that real estate, how you develop it, how you focus on it. That determines everything else in your life. Your mind is the starting point of every dollar you'll ever make, every relationship you'll ever build, every achievement you'll ever accomplish. When you focus on developing yourself, truly focus on strengthening your mind, you're making the highest return investment possible. No stock market, no business venture, no property can compare to the returns you'll get from investing in yourself. Here's something I've noticed after decades of studying successful people. They all share this one fundamental trait. They became students of themselves first. They didn't start by trying to conquer the world. They started by conquering their own thoughts, habits, and limitations. They understood that extraordinary achievements begin with an extraordinary mind. Most people look outward for solutions. They blame circumstances, other people, the economy, the government, anything but themselves. And that's exactly why most people never reach their potential. They're focusing on the wrong real estate. They're trying to renovate everyone else's property while their own sits neglected. But the exceptional few, those rare individuals who rise above ordinary results, they figured out this fundamental truth. The more you focus on yourself, the stronger your mind grows. And when your mind grows stronger, everything else follows. I'm not talking about some complex psychological theory here. This is practical wisdom that anyone can apply starting today. The question is not can you, but will you make that decision to turn your focus inward and strengthen the foundation of everything else in your life? Let me tell you, this shift in focus changes everything. When you truly commit to developing your mind, doors begin to open that you never even knew existed. Opportunities appear that were invisible before. Problems that once seemed insurmountable suddenly have solutions. It's not because the world changed. It's because you changed how you see the world. Now let's clear something up right away. When I talk about focusing on yourself, I'm not talking about selfish. There's a world of difference between self-focus and self-centeredness. Selfishness is about taking from others. Self-focus is about developing yourself so you have more to give. It's like the safety instructions on an airplane. You've got to put your own oxygen mask on first before helping others. That's not selfish. That's necessary. If you pass out from lack of oxygen, you can't help anyone else. The same principle applies to personal development. If you haven't developed yourself, what do you have to offer others? Think about it. The world is full of people with good intentions, but empty toolboxes. They want to contribute, they want to make a difference, but they haven't developed the skills, the knowledge, the mental strength to truly add value. Their hearts are in the right place, but their minds aren't equipped for the task. I've met so many people over the years who say, Jim, I want to help others. I want to make an impact. That's wonderful. But my next question is always, what have you done to prepare yourself for that mission? Too often, the answer reveals they've spent more time worrying about others than developing themselves. And here's the brutal truth. You can't give what you don't have. When you focus on strengthening your mind, you're not taking anything away from others. You're not becoming self-absorbed or narcissistic. Quite the opposite. You're becoming someone who has more wisdom to share, more skills to offer, more strength to lend when others need it. I met a gentleman some years ago. Let's call him Tom. Tom was constantly busy trying to fix everyone else's problems. His family, his friends, his coworkers. He was always putting out fires for other people. Noble intentions, absolutely. But Tom was stressed, overwhelmed, and frankly, not very effective at solving these problems. Why? Because Tom had never taken the time to develop himself. He hadn't read the books, taken the courses, practice the disciplines that would have equipped him to truly help. One day, Tom decided to make a change. He committed to spending 1 hour every morning focused solely on his own development, reading, thinking, planning, journaling. Just 1 hour. At first, he felt guilty. Shouldn't he be using that time to help someone else? But he stuck with it. 6 months later, Tom was a different person. His mind was sharper. His solutions were better. His stress was lower. And most surprisingly to Tom, he was actually helping others more effectively than ever before. By focusing on himself first, he had more to give. That's the paradox of self-focus. It's actually the fastest path to becoming truly valuable to others. Now let's talk about how your daily habits shape your mind. This is so fundamental yet so overlooked. Your mind is constantly being shaped. The only question is whether you're shaping it intentionally or unintentionally. Every day, your mind is like a garden. You're either planting flowers or allowing weeds to grow. You're either strengthening neural pathways that serve you or reinforcing ones that limit you. There's no neutral ground here. Your mind is either getting stronger or weaker, sharper or duller, more focused or more scattered. The average person never thinks about this. They wake up, check their phone, react to notifications, respond to other people's priorities all day, come home exhausted, watch whatever Netflix recommends, fall asleep, and repeat. Is it any wonder they feel stuck? They've abdicated control of their most precious asset, their mind. Contrast that with someone who understands the power of self-focus. They start their day with intention, not reaction. They feed their mind nutritious ideas before exposing it to the junk food of random information. They set aside time for thinking, not just consuming. They choose their influences carefully instead of absorbing whatever comes their way. Here's a simple truth that's changed my life and countless others. Your mind will reflect what you feed it most consistently. If you feed it negativity, it becomes negative. If you feed it excuses, it becomes expert at creating more excuses. If you feed it limitations, it becomes limited. But if you feed it possibilities, it starts to see opportunities everywhere. If you feed it knowledge, it becomes wise. If you feed it discipline, it becomes strong. This is the compound effect in action. Small daily acts of self-focus compound over time into extraordinary mental strength. Reading 30 minutes a day might not feel significant today, but over a year, that's 182 hours of feeding your mind. Over 5 years, that's 912 hours. How could your mind not grow stronger with that kind of consistent investment? The same applies to all habits that strengthen your mind. Meditation, journaling, deep thinking, learning new skills, having meaningful conversations, solving difficult problems. None of these might seem dramatic in the moment, but they all compound. They all accumulate. They all strengthen the muscle of your mind day by day. I remember talking to a successful CEO who told me something profound. She said, "Jim, I'm not naturally smarter than other people. I've just spent more time deliberately developing my mind while others were on autopilot. That's it. That's the secret hiding in plain sight. While others drift through life on autopilot, letting their minds be shaped by random influences, successful people take control. They focus on themselves not out of selfishness, but out of responsibility." Think about this. You have approximately 50,000 thoughts per day. How many of those thoughts are deliberate and how many are just reactions? How many are chosen by you and how many are triggered by something external? For most people, the percentage of chosen, deliberate thoughts is frighteningly low, maybe 5-10 if they're lucky. The rest is just mental autopilot. Habitual patterns, conditioned responses, unexamined assumptions. But what if you could increase that percentage? What if, through consistent self-focus, you could raise it to 15? And 20 and think, can you see how that would transform your life? Can you see how your mind would grow stronger with each increment of conscious control? This isn't theory. I've seen this transformation in person after person, year after year. The individual who commits to strengthening their mind through consistent self-focus becomes dramatically more effective in every area of life. Not because the world magically changes to accommodate them, but because they develop the mental tools to navigate the world more skillfully. Your mind is like any other part of your body. It responds to exercise. When you focus on it, challenge it, and nurture it, it grows stronger. When you neglect it, it grows weaker. The choice is yours, and the consequences of that choice will echo through every dimension of your life. Now let's talk about the 3 pillars of mental strength. I've studied success for decades, and I found that people with truly strong minds have developed 3 key areas: knowledge, discipline, and awareness. Think of these as the foundation of your mental house. Neglect any one of them, and the whole structure becomes unstable. First, knowledge, not just any knowledge, but useful knowledge. There's a difference between information and education. We're drowning in information these days, but starving for wisdom. The average person today consumes more information in a day than someone in the 1800s might have encountered in a year. But are they wiser? Are they more effective? Often not. True knowledge isn't about accumulating random facts. It's about acquiring ideas, principles, and concepts that you can actually use to improve your life and serve others. It's about studying things that matter, not just things that entertain. I always ask my seminar attendees, how many books have you read in the last 90 days? The answers tell me a lot about where they're headed. The person who hasn't read a book in years is showing me they've stopped growing intentionally. They might be growing accidentally through experience, but they're missing the accelerated growth that comes from learning from others' experiences. I think about this. You can spend 30 years learning something through trial and error, or you can read the distilled wisdom from someone else's 30 years in just a few hours. That's the miracle of books, of courses, of mentors. You're literally borrowing other people's mental strength and making it your own. The second pillar is discipline. Knowledge without discipline is like having a map, but no vehicle. You know where to go, but you can't get there. Discipline is doing what you know you should do, whether you feel like it or not. It's the bridge between goals and accomplishments. Discipline isn't popular these days. We live in a society that worships convenience, comfort, and instant gratification. But here's what I've noticed. Every successful person I've ever met has unusual discipline in at least one key area of their life. They've trained themselves to do what average people aren't willing to do. A woman in one of my seminars shared something powerful. She said, Mr. Rohn, I finally realized that the pain of discipline weighs ounces, but the pain of regret weighs tons. Isn't that the truth? The momentary discomfort of forcing yourself to get up early or read instead of watching TV or saying no to a purchase you can't afford. That's just ounces of pain, but the regret of missed opportunities, unreached potential, dreams forever deferred, that weighs tons. Mental strength comes from consistently choosing the ounces over the tons. It comes from training your mind to delay gratification, to push through resistance, to stay the course when emotions suggest otherwise. And like any form of training, it gets easier with practice. The first day of a new discipline is the hardest. By day 30, it's becoming a habit. By day 100, it's becoming part of your identity. The third pillar is awareness. This is perhaps the most overlooked aspect of mental strength. Awareness means paying attention to yourself, to your thoughts, to your environment, to the results you're getting in life. It means getting out of autopilot and becoming a conscious observer of your own life. Most people sleepwalk through their days. They're physically present, but mentally absent. They don't notice the patterns in their thinking. They don't question their assumptions. They don't connect their behaviors with their results. They're like someone driving a car while texting, technically in control, but dangerously unaware. Developing awareness requires creating space for reflection. It means asking yourself tough questions. Why do I believe what I believe? Why do I react the way I react? What patterns keep showing up in my life? What am I not seeing that I need to see? A friend of mine, very successful in business, sets aside every Friday afternoon just to think. Not to catch up on emails or have meetings, just to think. He reviews his week, considers his decisions, evaluates his progress toward goals, and looks for blind spots. People think he's a bit strange for doing this, but they also come to him for advice because his thinking is so clear, so nuanced, so aware. When you combine these three pillars, knowledge, discipline, and awareness, your mind becomes remarkably strong. You develop what I call mental sovereignty, the ability to think for yourself, to govern your actions, to choose your responses rather than just reacting to circumstances. Now let's get practical. How do you actually improve self-focus in today's distracted world? Because let's face it, we live in the most distraction-rich environment in human history. There's always something clamoring for your attention, always some new emergency, some new notification, some new urgent matter. First, you have to create boundaries around your attention. Your attention is your most precious resource, and everyone wants a piece of it. You need to become far more selective about what gets access to your mind. I recommend starting your day with at least 30 minutes of protected time. Time when you focus only on yourself and your growth. No email, no social media, no news, no other people's agendas. Just you feeding your mind, planning your day, setting your intentions. This single habit has transformed countless lives, including my own. The early morning is ideal for this because your willpower is strongest and the world hasn't started making demands yet. But the specific time matters less than the consistency. Find a time that works for you and protect it ferociously. Treat it as the most important appointment of your day, because it is. Second, audit your inputs regularly. What are you allowing into your mind? What shows are you watching? What social media accounts do you follow? What news do you consume? What people do you spend time with? All of these shape your thinking more than you realize. I'm not suggesting you live in a bubble, but I am suggesting you become much more intentional about your mental diet, just as you wouldn't eat food that makes you physically sick. Why consume content that makes you mentally weak? That leaves you anxious, envious, angry, or confused. For 1 week, keep a log of everything you consume mentally, everything you read, watch, and listen to. And then ask yourself honestly, is this strengthening my mind or weakening it? Is this moving me toward my goals or away from them? The answers might surprise you. Third, develop the habit of single tasking. Multitasking is a myth. What we call multitasking is really just rapid task switching, and it's terrible for mental strength. It fragments your attention, increases stress, and reduces the quality of your thinking. Instead, practice giving your full attention to one thing at a time. When you're reading, just read. When you're listening to someone, just listen. When you're working on a project, just work on that project. This simple shift from divided attention to focused attention will dramatically strengthen your mind over time. Let's talk about the relationship between self-focus and achievement. There's a direct connection here that most people miss. They think achievement comes from working harder, pushing more, doing more. And effort certainly matters, but what matters more is the quality of thinking behind that effort. I've seen people work incredibly hard for decades and make minimal progress. And I've seen others achieve remarkable results in a fraction of the time. The difference isn't hours invested. It's the mental clarity, the strategic thinking, the focused intention they bring to those hours. When you strengthen your mind through consistent self-focus, your ability to achieve multiplies. You start seeing opportunities others miss. You make better decisions. You manage your time more effectively. You communicate more persuasively. You solve problems more creatively. Think about it this way. Your achievements in life will never exceed your level of personal development. They can't. Your external results are always limited by your internal capacity. If you want to achieve more, you must become more. And becoming more starts with focusing on yourself. I remember talking with a salesman years ago who was frustrated with his results. He'd been in sales for 12 years, but was still performing at an average level. He told me, "Jim, I've got 12 years of experience in this business." I asked him, "Do you really have 12 years of experience, or do you have 1 year of experience repeated 12 times?" That question stopped him cold. He realized he hadn't been growing for 12 years. He'd been repeating the same patterns, making the same mistakes, thinking the same thoughts. He hadn't been focusing on himself. He'd been focusing on his quota, his commission, his competitors, his customers, everything but his own development. When he shifted his focus to strengthening his mind, studying psychology, mastering communication, developing his emotional intelligence, his results transformed within months. He hadn't changed companies or territories or products. He changed himself, and that changed everything else. This pattern repeats across every field, every industry, every area of achievement. The obstacle to your next level of success isn't out there somewhere. It's in your own mind. The limitations holding you back aren't external, they're internal. And the only way to overcome them is to focus on yourself. Now let's address the obstacles that prevent most people from focusing on themselves. Because if this approach is so powerful, why isn't everyone doing it? The first obstacle is guilt. Many good-hearted people feel selfish when they focus on themselves. They've been taught that putting others first is virtuous and putting themselves first is wrong. But as we discussed earlier, true self-focus isn't selfish, it's responsible. It's about becoming someone who has more to give. Who benefits if I remain underdeveloped? Who benefits if my mind stays weak? Who benefits if I never reach my potential? The answer is nobody, not you, not your family, not your community, not the causes you care about. Everyone loses when you neglect yourself. The second obstacle is immediate gratification. Focusing on yourself, reading books, taking courses, practicing disciplines, reflecting on your patterns, none of this provides the instant dopamine hit of checking social media, watching Netflix, or browsing online stores. The rewards of self-focus are delayed, while the rewards of distraction are immediate. This is where discipline becomes essential. You have to train yourself to value long-term satisfaction over short-term pleasure. You have to develop the ability to do what's important, not just what's entertaining or easy. This doesn't mean eliminating all pleasure. It means becoming someone who can delay pleasure for the sake of growth. The third obstacle is environmental resistance. Your environment is either supporting your focus on yourself or undermining it. And most environments today undermine it. Technology companies spend billions designing products that capture and keep your attention. Media companies craft headlines specifically to trigger emotional reactions. Even well-meaning friends and family members can pull you away from self-focus with their expectations and demands. To overcome this, you need to redesign your environment to support your goals. This might mean changing your physical spaces, creating a dedicated area for reading and thinking. It might mean changing your digital environment, removing social apps from your phone, unsubscribing from distracting emails. It might even mean changing your social environment, spending less time with people who drain your energy and more time with those who inspire your growth. The fourth obstacle is lack of structure. Vague intentions rarely produce results. Saying, "I'm going to focus more on myself," isn't enough. You need specific structures that translate that intention into consistent action. This is where having a personal development plan becomes crucial. Not a vague aspiration, but an actual plan with specific activities, time blocks in your calendar, resources identified, progress measured. Just as a business needs a business plan, your personal growth needs a growth plan. What should this plan include? It depends on your specific goals and challenges, but there are some universal elements. A morning routine that sets your day on the right track. For me, this includes reading, journaling, and reviewing my goals and priorities before opening email or social media. A learning system, how you'll consistently acquire new knowledge and skills. This might include books, courses, mentors, or specialized training. Reflection practices that help you extract wisdom from your experiences. Maybe it's a weekly review, a monthly self-assessment, or regular conversations with a trusted advisor. Health habits that support mental clarity. Your brain is part of your body after all. Sleep, nutrition, exercise, and stress management directly impact cognitive function. Relationship cultivation. Identifying who you need to spend more time with to grow and who you need to limit exposure to. The key is to be as specific as possible. Don't just say, "I'll read more." Decide what you'll read it. When you'll read it, how much you'll read each day. Don't just say, "I'll reflect more." Schedule specific times for reflection and determine what questions you'll ask yourself. Remember, what gets scheduled gets done. What gets measured gets improved. Your personal development deserves the same level of intentionality you'd give to any other important project in your life. I've seen so many transformations over the years when people create and follow a structured approach to self-focus. There was a young woman in one of my seminars, barely 25 years old, who committed to just 30 minutes of structured personal development each morning. Within a year, she had read over 40 books, mastered key skills in her field, and received 2 promotions. Her income doubled, but more importantly, her confidence and clarity soared. That's the power of structured self-focus. It's not magic, it's methodology. It's not about hoping you'll improve, it's about designing systems that make improvement inevitable. Let me leave you with this thought. Your life changes when your mind changes, not a moment before. People often hope for better circumstances, better relationships, better opportunities. But here's what I've learned after all these years. Circumstances don't change until you do. And you don't change until you focus on yourself with purpose and consistency. The beautiful thing about focusing on yourself is that it's entirely within your control. You can't control the economy. You can't control other people. You can't control world events. But you can absolutely control your own development. You can control what you read, what you think about, what you practice, what you learn, and when you exercise that control. When you commit to strengthening your mind day after day, something remarkable happens. Your life begins to reflect your thinking. Your external world begins to mirror your internal world. I often tell people, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for fewer problems, wish for more skills. Don't wish for less challenge, wish for more wisdom. That's what focusing on yourself is all about. It's about becoming the kind of person who can handle whatever life brings. It's about developing such mental strength that obstacles become opportunities, challenges become growth experiences, and limitations become starting points rather than stopping points. So I challenge you today, make the decision to focus on yourself, not out of selfishness, but out of responsibility, The decision to strengthen your mind, not just occasionally but daily. The decision to become the best version of yourself so you can offer the best value to others. Start small. If you need to, with 15 minutes a day of focused self-development, but start and stick with it, because nothing will change your life more profoundly than the consistent, intentional strengthening of your own mind. The more you focus on yourself, the stronger your mind grows. And the stronger your mind grows, the better everything else becomes.